Hey everybody, this is Ann. Welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips, and we are here, and I'm sorry for the late start. My dog decided to explode right when I was getting ready to go on, so yeah, it's both the best and the worst time for her to go, for her to decide she needs to go out. Because obviously it doesn't like interrupt us in the middle of the stream, which is nice, but it does delay things. So hello and welcome. We are back. I hope she is settling down now. It's just one of those days. And too much Devlin. I don't think there can be too much Devlin. I don't know. You subbed to us too much Devlin, so I don't think there can be too much of you. Thank you for the sub. Subbed with Twitch Prime. Thank you for the Prime sub. A little bit of delay. My dog is old, for those of you who are new. She is 12 and a half, and she does have emergency butt sign. So when the tail goes up, I have to rush her outside. Yeah. So Kiri's an old girl. Yes. You good? You gonna be good now? She's giving me a dubious look, guys. We might be in for a Kiri emergency later. You're a good girl. What? What are you giving me the stink eye for? There. Have that. So howdy and good morning. Hello, hello. Yes, so a little bit late because of the Kiri. There we go. Now we have a Kiri smile. The AC is on, dog. You can't be unhappy. Yeah, good girl. There we go. Gotta make sure the Kiri is happy before we start this stream. Otherwise, it's gonna just be more disruptive. So thank you to all of you, by the way, who came out for my stream yesterday on my own channel too. We got a record views. We got over 100 views. Or I should say people watching at the same time. So that was a record for my baby Twitch stream. Yoku's. Hello, Pocono Pete. That's a good name. Lots of alliteration. Doggo cam someday? I don't know. I've got so much screen real estate. She's just hanging out. Can I get you, Kiri? The problem is that it's dark over in that corner of the room because all my lights are right here. So you can't really see her when I turn the mini cam. Right, pretty girl? But yeah, good morning, everybody. It's an okay morning. I slept okay. I hope y'all did too. I hope those of you who it's evening, I hope you had a decent day. So let us go back to Snake Person. I was thinking about Snake Person this morning. I was thinking about whether I wanted to do metallics on her little edging of her cloak, or if I wanted to do NMM. So I thought while I started on purples and talking about those, that I would also talk about NMM versus metallics on this model. I was going to do NMM. I set it up by putting some bright spot highlights on areas that were definitely metal. I hadn't quite decided on the border of the cloak whether I wanted it to be metal or not. The problem with metallics on this model... Yes, I am here, Rathmore. Hello. Kiri, what's up? Can you settle? Sorry, the doglet is still kind of unsettled. What are you doing? David's got a meeting outside. He can't be in here right now. With shepherds, you just never know if they're actually unsettled or if they're only unsettled because all the members of their pack aren't in one place. Settle down. Good girl. Yes. So as I was saying, the obvious choice for this model is NMM, and the reason for that is that we're controlling the light source, right? There we go, Snake. Get Snake refocused. I think it's focusing on that. I think you're being sneaky. There, camera. That's much better. So the minute you put metallics into this model, you automatically come up against a hard thing, which is that the metallics are going to reflect whatever light source is in the room. They're not going to pay any attention to this fireball up here. So yes, I must shepherd you. That is indeed. Zombie leftovers. Does that mean that you're everything but the brain? Zombie leftovers? I don't know. Maybe zombies these days also eat other things than brains, but that would imply that you are a zombie yourself also. No, okay. Or are you a brain that was left behind by the zombies? It's one or the other, right? Bob Ross. But yes, so okay. I suppose I should stay on topic, but I like to go all over the place. But yes, hello and good morning. Alrighty. So yeah, so if I went with metallic paint here, it would kind of fight against the effect that we're trying to do, which is that of a very strong light source up top. And that the light in the environment is coming principally from this light source. So metallics will fight against that. No topics allowed. I know, right? The Patreon is for topics. The stream is for digression. But yeah, so you could make metallics work on this, but it would be a lot harder. It'd be a lot harder to make it work with your light source. And what you'd pretty much have to do is you'd have to shade the metallics heavily with regular paint to cut the shine in areas that you don't want to catch the light. That would be the way that you would deal with that. Hey, Corgi. How you doing, Gaston? So, in talking about purples, I was going to do purple for her stuff. I mentioned the other day that it's hard sometimes to use complementary colors that highlight each other, because if you are using a bluer purple, then it tends to go gray. Like even this dark purple Monarch could go gray, because when you mix when you mix complements with each other, like yellow and purple, you usually get a gray or muddy brown. And the exception to this, the easy exception to this, is Runic Purple, which actually has so much red in it instead of, and just a touch of blue, that you can use this and highlight it with yellow and it works. But I don't want to take the easy road here. I kind of wanted to start with the more difficult road and show you guys why it's difficult. And why you can't just, you can highlight purple with yellow, but you're going to get kind of, in some areas here, you're going to lose this color entirely. And probably in most of the shadows. So, if you're doing it properly. Good morning, Chibi. And maybe Justin. Justin was here, Skelsey, but he's been kind of on snooze, I think. He's also probably working on ReaperCon. He said he was watching some of the Gen Con stuff, which I think started today. Yes, Anne endures the pain.
I'm here. Sorry, I was actually answering email that time.
Ah,
but yes, I am also keeping an eye on the Gen Con stuff.
Yes. Disembodied voice Justin is in the house. We are good. So one thing, so this is a very dark purple Monarch is. It's also very red, and the nice thing about it is it has no black in it. It manages to get this level of darkness without having any black, which makes it more mixable. Hold on, I'm a little bit crooked here. There we go, that's a little bit better. Which makes it a little bit more mixable with other colors, and makes it a better glaze for some colors. Yes, I got sleep. Oh my god, I'm so bad when I don't have sleep. Hey, Miniatures Den, it's good to see you. Good morning, or evening. You stay up so late, man. I turn into a pumpkin at 10:30. I'm a morning person. Hey, Nomadzik. Yes, indeed. All right. We need an emote for disembodied voice Justin when there's an available slot. I think so too. I don't know what we do though. Like the problem with emotes is they're so tiny that fitting something meaningful into a tiny box. We almost should have a little like Pac-Man ghost with Justin on it. I'm getting better at sleeping less and less. I just can't do it. Maybe I'm just too old. They say you need more. Sleep gets more important when you're old. They say you need less, but I don't know if I buy that. Let's see here. I want to use a product today that a lot of you don't know how to use. And I'm going to drop it on the floor because that's the way we roll today. It's like another Monday. This whole week has been Mondays, guys, for me. And that's unusual. That is very unusual for me. You don't buy that. You need more. Yeah. All right. So the product that we're going to be using today, and I'm using it because I'm using a really dark, vibrant color. And this happens sometimes if you're working with some of the dark blues, dark purples, and if it like not really the dark browns, but some of the dark browns can go this way. What happens with dark blues and dark purples and dark browns sometimes is that they look shinier than they are. We try to matte everything to the same level, but every once in a while you'll just get a batch of paint that just looks like it's just a little glossier than you'd like it for a shadow, specifically when you're shading with it. So that's when anti-shine additive comes in. You could also use anti-shine additive to make your brush-on sealer more dead matte. But the thing about using anti-shine additive is you must use a tiny, tiny bit. This stuff is super strong. So, you're terrible. No, you're very awesome, but, you may be terrible at sleeping. So, this stuff is kind of a concentrated version of the matting agent that we use in the Reaper Paint Cam Lab. It is super fine, so you should not get any discernible grit in your paint from using it. But if you use too much, your paint will frost. So that's why you've got to be careful about really using this. Let me find my pokey tool. Pokey tool. Also, it does tend to clog, but it tends not to, it doesn't ever set or cure or anything. So clogs are just clogs. Where did my pokey tool go? Oh, noes. I've got like 6 of the things. You'd think that I could keep one. There. Okay. Both of them are hiding. I've got 2 right next to each other on the desk and nary a 1 where I normally keep it. This, like I said, Mondays. A week of Mondays. Ah. Yes, Gimli. Miniatures Den's lesson was yesterday. It seemed to go awesome. Oh, you're talking about a different lesson. I just, yeah. Yes, we all wish that we had teleportation devices. So let me show you how little of this stuff. Like, I will even put this anti-shine additive in like a separate little spot on my palette. I'll probably put it up here. Up. And the pokey tool says, no, it was not enough. Poke me again. It is pretty thick. So I didn't want to add a lot of water to the formula when I was creating this because I didn't want to... You never want an additive to change the consistency of the paint too much itself unless it's meant to do that. And this stuff is definitely made to matte down something without further thinning it. Putting the power in your hands as to how much you thin. Because, you know, miniature painting, you usually want to control your paint consistency a bit. It gets very irritating when you want a thicker paint and you can't get it. So... tiny little drizzle of anti-shine additive. Tiny little bit on my brush. That's about what I'd start with. And I know this paint tends to be glossy, so I'm just going to put it in there. But yeah, so putting just a little bit in. And then you want to test your paint. But it really is put it in tiny bits, tiny increments to get a nice finish. So I'm going to grab, I'll grab the underside of a plastic base. That's a good thing to kind of test it on to see how I am. Let's see here. And then I'll test it somewhere out of the way. Like in this case, an underside of the base. I'll let it dry. I'll see how glossy it is. Almost an affiliate for Miniatures Den. Almost. Thank you for the congrats, but I won't hit it till next week unless I do a couple of ninja streams this weekend. If I get impatient, I could do a couple more streams. But I have actually a lot of work that I need to do that I can't do on stream. Like I need to shoot a video for Patreon today and stuff like that. So, and write PDFs and things like that. That kind of takes away from streaming time. All right, and I'm just going to kind of assess how matte that is, just kind of glance at it under the light, and it looks pretty good, so I think I'm going to go with it. But that really is, you start with little tiny increments of this anti-shine matte additive, and that's the same for sealer, because our sealer is more of a satin, but if you want to make it more matte, you can add this stuff, just add a tiny bit, because there's already a bunch of it in there. I just like the ability to tune. Yes, I do, Miniatures Den. And the reason, much as I love to write, I'm a writer by nature. So I do love to write, and I love that the PDFs let me to set my thoughts down in a very regimented manner. I feel like I teach better on PDF. You know, I teach well on PDF. But it takes so much time because you've got to write it, and you've got to edit it, and you've got to shoot photos for it. And when you're done with that, it takes so much longer than even shooting a video and doing all the editing. So it's weird because, you know, a lot of people consider PDFs to be worth less monetarily on a Patreon than videos are. And yet it's inverse in the amount of work, in my opinion. If you're trying to do like a really nice product. Quality content. Lots of clacking on the keyboard and cussing under my breath, Gurgi. Yeah. See, I like the writing. I'm always like, darn it, this PDF's going to eat my whole day. Yeah, I mean, I can shoot. I don't ever do, like, my longest stream so far is only an hour and a half. I think I'd have to take breaks, because I tend to get, hour and a half is a good work period for me, so I'd have to, like, if I did a long stream, I'd have to take regular breaks, but yeah. I just use Word Night. I'm not trying to do anything, like, crazy. I just want to teach, right, effectively, and you don't need any fancy program to do that, no matter what people tell you. it's the text that's important, but that means that after I write the text, I go back and I edit it and I make sure everything is clear and I correct things and I look up item numbers and, then I go and do a sample model and paint it and, shoot photos. And then maybe I think of, when I look at the photos, additional things I could talk about. So then I have to add to the PDF. You guys get the idea? When I'm done, it's 6 hours of PDF. Yeah, I like Twitch as it's more interactive. I agree there. I mean, I want to put up all my Twitch videos on YouTube just so they stay, because right now, of course, they won't be saved forever on the Twitch platform. I have to put them on YouTube just as an archive. But in general, I really like the interaction on Twitch. It helps me to help you guys in real time. So when you have a question, targeted question, I can stop, do a demo, talk about stuff. Just going to mix some Runic Purple up so I can maybe do a comparison. And we're going to see how our yellow works with our Monarch. Oh, good, Graham. Yeah, I try to really break stuff down. Like, a lot of times I see streams, and painters are great at talking about, any painter's really good at talking about how and why they do things. I try to go a little deeper with the paint chemistry and how the pigments act and like the characteristics of the paint and why you're having this effect and why this might be a good, I try to go a little bit more knowledge heavy, I guess. A lot of people just like to watch people paint. I mean, without a lot of explanation. I mean, we all were glued to Bob Ross, right? And he really didn't explain necessarily how or why he was doing a lot. He would often just paint and it was magic. And people often just want to watch the magic, but I want to kind of pull aside the curtain and show you guys the magic on various levels so that you can maybe replicate the magic yourself. I'm going to keep that pretty straight up, and then I'm going to get some over here and build a puddle with white in it. Hey, Image. Good to see you. Better late than never. Hey, Twisted Oma. Good to see you too. Alrighty. So we're just mixing our colors here. I'm going to show you guys kind of what happens when you try to highlight. And now light does act differently than pigment, so having kind of an understanding of how light can act can help you. For example, a red object under blue light actually goes black. So you would go a very dark gray, washed out look if you were trying to shine that sort of light on an object. But you can also get kind of tangled up in the eyes, the expectations of somebody who doesn't know that. They're going to think that it should be purple if you shine a blue light on a red object. Yeah, so it's, there's the way that light acts when it mixes, and there's the way that paint acts when it mixes. And these two things are slightly different. So your mileage may vary. But in general, there are lots of instances where it works just perfectly like I have here, where shining a yellowish light onto green will make it, more yellow-green. So there's just some weird stuff. Yeah, sorry, Inara, I missed that question. I'm going to show people... Hello. Pretty much I wanted to show people how mixing these two colors, how trying to highlight a purple with a yellow can kind of go sideways. When you do... There's a color for you. It's a very pretty color, actually. Well, as much as a brown can be pretty. But... So when you do mix a complement with a complement, it's actually one of the best ways to kind of mute a color. If you want to mute your purple down a little bit, but you still want it to be kind of intense, you add yellow to it. But when you mix these two, they mute out and they make a brown, just like you see here. And it's a bit of a muddy brown. And what's coming from that is the blue and the purple is mixing with, the yellow here that has some orange in it. And it's kind of just giving you this muted color. So it's that's the problem with highlighting, with doing colored light like this, is that a lot of people just stop the purple and start the yellow, and it's like a paint gun hit the model. And they never think about the fact that it's going to change the color of the purple, or it may just, bleach out the purple. That's where you kind of come into that idea that there's an ambient light around the snake that actually will still show your purple instead of making it all brown. Where in reality, it might indeed go all brown because under yellow light, purple will look brown. Yeah, walking around backstage and suddenly your blacks turn red with... Yep, exactly. So weird stuff. Yeah. Yeah, there can be some weird visual stuff with visual light, with colored light and colored objects, and then your brain adjusts for it. So like the most famous one is, we did this in drawing school. The example is always a still life that they set up in the middle of the still life, and the whole still life is under red light, and it's the only light in the room is red. And they put a basket of eggs in there, and everybody, without fail, everybody paints the eggs as white. Because your brain is interpreting them as white. In reality, they're simply the brightest red object under the red light. But the brain adjusts for it. They're like, those are eggs, they're white. So, and you always get those people who are like, no, those totally looked white. No, they didn't. Your brain expected them to be white. So it gets really sticky, guys. It gets really sticky. So probably the most realistic, let me just see here. Just checking on here. Yeah, Lantern Yellow, Monic Purple, Runic Purple is what I've got. And then the Lantern plus White, just like we used yesterday for the Fireball. So the most realistic and proper way to do this is probably to grab purple, add a tiny bit of yellow to mute it out so that I have more of a bruised purple. See, it's not, you see where we lost this vibrant purple color here? Just that little bit of yellow made it really kind of go off a bit. I might add even a little bit more. And my purple will suddenly become much more like a bruised purple at that point. But that is probably more the color that would be under this yellow white light, because it's going to be affected by that yellow. So you're going to lose this blue stuff. David is much better at explaining this, my man. He's quietly, secretly building a folder of horrible OSL examples. Essentially people who just throw the color on the model without thinking about how it affects the underlying stuff. So let me see. Now I want to build kind of like this. The funky thing about this purple is that it does have so much red in it that it's building more oranges than browns. It's not as disruptive as it might otherwise be. We still should be able to suggest purple though, and we still should be able to get our yellow to show right. I'm using straight lantern for this, by the way, because when white enters the picture, everything mutes out even more. And so I don't want that to get in the way. So I probably need to just add a little bit of my lantern to my monarch at this point and just mute it down a little. Maybe a little bit more. You could also do this by glazing, by the way. We could paint our purples just peachy over the whole thing. And then, do probably some white highlights, just like I have here on the sleeve. Just leave those white. And glaze the yellow over it and over the purple. And that might work as well. It depends. Sometimes it works very well, like glazing yellow over green can work very well. Glazing yellow over red can work very well. It's a little bit harder sometimes when you've got complementaries, though. I probably need at this point also to make a puddle of this mixture with a little bit of purple in it. Kind of go almost 50-50 over here, because I need transitions. This is when you're blending from one complement to another, it gets really weird. So see this weird mustard color? So that's what really happens when you're throwing these together. I mean, you really get mucky color at some point. These aren't bad colors. They're actually pretty vibrant and interesting colors, but they're definitely not the primary purple and yellow that you started with. Now, I wanted to show the difference here. You take this, and that part of what makes this purple so dark is the amount of red shade phthalo blue in it. Then you go to Runic Purple, which I mentioned is a purple that's built mostly with different reds. It has only a touch of blue in it to shove it purple. So what happens when you add lantern to this is you get a much more vibrant orange. It goes pretty straight. I mean, it's still a muted orange, but it's definitely an orange. It's not a brown. It is a little bleached because there's white in Runic. But so you can see the difference between like how we started to go over here and how much more grayed out it started to go and how much more orange it goes here. So Runic is one of those weird colors where you can actually build, go straight from Runic to orange to yellow almost. It's a weird blend, but it works. Hey, Strange. Yeah, we're still working on Snake, and I'm talking about using purples for the jacket and how you have to mute them out because the light is yellowy orange, which is complementary to our purple. There is a lot of red in this purple. I'm using Monarch Purple and Runic Purple. I should show those bottles. Monarch is actually one of my favorite purples of all time. I love it. It's a very vibrant red purple. I use it for shading a lot when I don't want real blue shadows, but I still want to cool things down. It's really good for shading like yellowy browns and gold colors. It's very interesting color. So yeah, it's all how much red is in your purple is how well it's going to play with yellow. If you go with more of a blue, like if I was using Imperial for this, we'd get mud. Do. Where's the... I feel like I'm missing things. Missing questions. Oh, my brush didn't leave any stain in the yellow. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's the amount of paint on the brush. Also, this paint is relatively thick. Okay, so the more water you have in your paint, the more likely that you can't double dip like I just did. So, it's like, have very little paint on your brush, have very little water in your paint, and you can dip and mix with impunity. But when you go beyond that, then you're in trouble. Gren, thank you for the raid, Gren. Hey guys, hey everybody new coming into the stream for the first time. I am doing crazy things with lighting today on a Snake Lady. Yeah, this is what we're on. Oh yeah, I don't think they're limiting seats, Coobs, for ReaperCon. I think that if you want to get into a class, you can get into a class. But I don't know that for sure. Justin or John may have more information. I wasn't sure if we're limiting seating, because seating is virtual, right? So for the first time, we should be able to have as many people as want take the class. I am a paint wizard. I'm a paint guy. I think Paint Goddess is actually my tag on the Reaper forum, the old Reaper forums. But, all right, so let's get back to our snake. We want to grab some of our lighter yellow because that is really the color of the light source is much lighter than the yellow that I've mapped out here, so it's not reading quite right. So we do need to bring up these parts like close to the color of the light source, because the closer the object is to the light source, the brighter that light is going to be. And we want to keep this great light source thing that we've got going on here. We want to reinforce it here. So I'm actually, I'm going to block in my purple with the mix that I did. That's kind of a bruised purple color. There we go. I need to get in focus here. Let me get Snake Lady a little closer to you guys. All right. There is a limit, but we're confident we won't reach that limit. Can you prove us wrong? Well, I'm doing my class on Twitch because I really like the Twitch interface. So, and since I'm already set up for the Reaper Twitch, it was kind of a no-brainer for me to offer to do Twitch content. I'm not sure at this point if my regular classes are going to run, or my regular streams are going to run during ReaperCon, guys. I actually asked Justin yesterday if he could figure that out, if they had room for them. I think Michael is streaming for ReaperCon. He's streaming classes for ReaperCon, but his classes end at the time mine would start, I think. They end at like 11:30 Central. All right, so we're going to just map in our base purple. I could thin this a bit more to see the white, but I can still see the white a bit. You can see the white through this purple here and here. So although I'm not using a glaze, I'm still pretty good on seeing my underpainting through this purple. If I wanted, I could add a little bit more water to it to make it go a little more transparent. Is it plenty active, Crowley? It was, for a while there, it was really, really going a little bit, not as active in some places, so. Anything on Twitch, Stephanie, is going to be available for posterity. They will be recorded forever. Anything on Zoom will not be recorded, just as in normal ReaperCon stuff. And the reason, I believe, well, one of the reasons is just out of respect for our painters, many of whom make their living, doing content like this. You don't want your class that, you're trying to get students for, in your private life to be available free online. Kind of means that you can't really teach it anymore to a private audience. So yeah, so it's a nice mix. It means that, I decided to create a special class for ReaperCon so that I wouldn't be undermining any of my Patreon content. and it would just be a good addition to my Patreon content, so that I didn't mind at all that it would be available forever. Just looking at stuff. It's for what? We're for a mature audience? It'll be a sad day in NERP when I start dropping F-bombs on the stream. I kind of have my Pink Club voice on when I do this stream because I want it to be family friendly. Pink Club voice means I always, the minute I stepped into Pink Club, all of my bleeps turned to dangs. My dad was really good at this because he was in the Navy, and so he always wanted to say, son of a bleep, but instead he would say son of a beech tree and things like that, and beaver damn it.
So does this mean I'm not allowed to drop F-bombs?
Please don't drop F-bombs when I'm on stream, sweetie. I love you, but there are limits, dang it. Okay. Yes. Don't be a bad David. I know you love to troll me.
I do.
Yeah, so why are we for mature audiences, Justin? I mean, were you gonna spring this on me later?
No, it's just a warning because I never know when Ed's gonna drop the F-bomb.
Oh, Ed, it's because of Ed. Oh, that explains everything.
Well, Ed or Ron primarily.
When they get, yes.
Those two are pretty unpredictable.
Yeah. Okay, well that makes sense. All you had to really say was Ed.
You didn't like my theory?
What?
That is because of the sculptors on Proctor's show?
Oh, well, yeah, Proctor's show can go off the rails, that's for sure. But, alright, so I'm just trying to block in now where my highlights were. I'm really doing it real lightly. I'm using a bit of white too. The white mixed with the lantern yellow. This is going to be all pale. And so I'm blocking in my yellows, and you can see though how this brownish color that I've mixed between the dark purple and the yellow actually is a really good transition color for the light source. Like, it looks real. And that it fades to that brownish color as it moves away from the light source. So David and Ron could do the trio of F-bombs. No, don't encourage them.
I actually don't sweat that much.
Sunny beaches. That's a really good one, Twisted Oma. I may borrow that one instead of Son of a Beech Tree. Sunny beaches is really good. But it's, when you work with kids or you work around kids or you work in a public venue, like Paint Club was in the Reaper game store, right? In our break room. When you work in those venues, your brain gets a setting on it, the G-rated setting. That you just kind of flip on, and you just automatically substitute. If you really feel like, cussing, you can auto substitute. Unless you're really tired. There were days where I was just really tired, hadn't gotten good sleep, and would let something slip at Paint Club, but I tried very hard not to do so. Just to make the parents that were bringing their kids not, be sad. Oh yeah, now that you've said that, John, people are going to try. John said on the chat, David, that there was a limit to the number of people who could take a ReaperCon class, but that he didn't think that we were going to hit it. So, challenge accepted. Because they were talking about your class and how they wanted to get into your OSL class. And I told her I didn't think there was a limit. John says there's a limit, but he doesn't think we'll reach it. I think we have to set out to reach it now.
I mean, if we reach the Zoom limit, we should just move it to Twitch.
Yeah, but that some people wouldn't want to do that because the content, whether the content stays up online. For mine. Oh, for yours, I see.
If we hit the Zoom limit, we should just move it to Twitch. I'm pretty sure we're not going to hit the Twitch limit.
All right, I need to, at this point, because I'm leaving a lot of brush strokes, I'm getting really choppy here. Much as I want my yellow to cover, I do need it to go a little thinner. Yellow is one of those weird colors. Yellows and oranges, you think that because they're so transparent, it's going to be easy, like they won't take much water to make them blend. But in reality, yellows and oranges can be very, very hard to blend. They take a surprising amount of water to get down to the really translucent level. So keep that in mind if you're still seeing brush strokes and are really frustrated with your yellow because you think you thinned it enough. You need to thin it more than you think. Yeah, yeah, sky's clear. It is possible to lose the G rating, yeah, switch in your brain, that's for sure. I thought they were doing remote paint club. I think Reaper John might know whether they are. They were doing some. I don't know if they do it every Saturday. Um, I don't think we care to disclose the limit, Francis. We'd rather just have people. It's fine as a joke, but we don't want it to be a meme. We don't want to give it that power. All right, so that's a little bit better. I can slowly blend in my my colors. I do need to put some yellow over this though, because that was definitely a place that light was falling down in the bottom part of the snake.
It looks like Zoom has a limit of either 100 or 500.
Don't tell them. Shh.
Okay.
If Reaper doesn't want to disclose the limit on the classes, we don't disclose the limit on the classes. And
I mean,
and Reaper may have it set
using
differently.
Zoom.
Shush. Shush. Go work. Do you have a job? Someone will figure it out. Every Sunday on Discord. Oh, okay. Sky's clear. Thanks for the Yay. How many accounts can I log into at one time? Yes, that's why we don't make it a meme, right? We don't encourage people to break our system. Let's just say that it's going to be vastly more people can take the class than normally can take the class, and we should be just fine. Knock on imitation wood. Alrighty. I don't want to glaze. I don't want any of this blue-purple to stay because it wouldn't stay, so I'm going to make a really pale glaze with my lantern yellow. Really watery. And I'm going to kind of put a filter over the top of all of this. It's going to help smooth out my yellows to do so. It's going to take that purple down a notch. Going to put it down here. Now this is where a secondary light source would be interesting, guys, because if your main light source is warm, so it's going to wash out a lot of your purple and really mute it. If you had a secondary ambient light source that was more blue, you could totally bring a purple that was a little more vibrant into the shadows, which would be an interesting effect. So you can do stuff like that. Because as you see, I am wiping out a lot of purple. It's still going to read as purple a bit, but it's definitely a more of a washed out purple than we started with. But it looks realistic because that's the way it would work. Whereas if I had just painted this like purple and then just put the highlights on in yellow and not done any of this transition where the purple's being muted out, it would look like you splattered it with a paint gun and not like light was actually falling on the figure. You can paint anything. No, Paint Club is just get together with people online and paint together, Gurgi. At least that's what it was at Reaper. It may have changed. Yeah, I'm waiting for this whole COVID thing to be under control so we can have in-person paint clubs again. I miss it. Like, I won't be able to do it in Texas, obviously, but I can do it out here. Yeah, paint clubs are nice because they actually make you go and paint, right? Yeah, Gren, I mean, you could, but then you'd want to keep that in mind for everything. So, like, then you'd want blue in the shadows here and here, and you'd have to think about how your blue is going to act with your yellow. Because it's going to green out your yellow, right? So your yellow is going to go from warm to more of a green. Your green is going to go more blue. And your purple will end up more indigo. So it's a very interesting challenge to, if you're trying to be realistic. That's pretty much what we're talking about right now is realism in lighting. Realism in OSL. Not doing it just, you can always do something stylistic. You can always do something artsy that isn't quite real but looks cool. I mean, that's always an option. David may be frustrated with you if you do so. But you can do it. I mean, there's no rules that say you have to stick to the way lighting is. But I like to talk about it because I think a lot of people don't really think about it. And then there's stuff, maybe they're trying to do a light source like this and it doesn't look right. And they're like, well, why isn't this working? So we're going to continue to bring up. I actually think she looks really good on the back. She needs to go up lighter. So iffy. So what I'm hearing is the opening of the California satellite location of Reaper Paint Club is postponed due to COVID. Yes, that's exactly it. But yeah. Ignoring the cat talk in Hangouts and painting. Yeah. Yes, it's important that you engage and make choices while you're doing it. Right. So for here, I really did want to talk about the difficulties of this. I'm going to thin down my yellow now because I want to start making some decent glazes. But yeah, so my muted yellows and my non-muted yellows, like, you can kind of see what's going on. So we've got this mustardy color that has a lot more of the purple in it with the lantern yellow. And then we've got our pure lantern yellow, our lantern yellow plus white. I'm going to mix another color that is this almost pure white with just a tad of lantern yellow, which I think is a 4-to-1. 1 drop lantern yellow, 4 white. Oh yeah, done. Well, be prepared to invest, to go down the bunny hole on that, Gurgi, if you're going to learn ZBrush. Although there are excellent videos, many excellent videos online. Reaper John could probably tell you some good resources to learn ZBrush, because he was learning it also. There. Yeah, I mean, that's always a choice. I tend to like realism, and so I've been working on stuff like this that can help me give my models more of a sense of place. Because I think realism does that. It makes it look more like the model is really in its setting. And I really like that. So that's it. But that's part of your style. Like, that's what we talked about, painter style briefly on my AMA, because it's one of my favorite topics. And your lighting choices and how realistic or stylistic you are is definitely part of your style. In addition to like common color choices, how you utilize your highlights and shadows, just in as far as the area they cover, the brush stroke you tend to use, even down to that. There we go. ZBrushCore.com/mini/index. ZBrush Core Mini. Awesome. Thank you, John. Alrighty. Oh, I see. Bases are missing supports. Yeah. All right, I'm going to make this a lot lighter. Now, realistically, I need to actually start blending now, which means since I added a bunch of white to this, I need to add a ton of water. I could just wet blend, I suppose. I could cheat. Go fast. So let me get this white. Gotta put lighter color up near the top of the head. So that, yeah, see, the minute you put light up there, lighter color, you start picking up that light of the fireball. And the closer you are to the fireball, the lighter that should be. And then as you move away, it should get dimmer, depending on the light sourcing. And you want to be consistent about this. But you can see how that definitely starts showing you the light being very hot at the top of the model. We'll put some more light on the shoulders here. Oh, now they're off on 3D printing and technical talk in the chat. All right, well, I can ignore the chat for a while now. Bunny hole alert. That's what we need for one of our next emotes is bunny hole. Needs to have a little hole with little rabbit ears coming out of it. It's the alert for getting hopelessly off topic. Or emoji, sorry, not an alert. So now I'm bringing up the light very strong at the top of these sleeves. So even though this is just blacked in and I'm not doing a lot of blending here, you can still see how putting your highlights in the right places totally backs up that lighting effect. This is what I mean when I say you don't have to have your blending down to do directional light sourcing or NMM. It can make it look better or more realistic if you are working on a very smooth surface. So like if you're doing a really smooth sword blade and you don't quite have your blending down, it will look better if you learn to blend better. or it may look, I shouldn't even say better, I should say just more in line with, what it would be in real life. But you don't have to feel like you have to. If you can nail your light sourcing, you don't need to nail your blending to get a good effect with OSL or NMM. Canadian gecko. Poof, a Canadian gecko appears. How's it going? I hear that the Eligo Mars is the printer to do. Is that a resin printer? Sentimental? Yes! No, you did not mishear, Terry C. Wilcox. I heard they're giving away copies of the new Reaper Badger airbrush on Thursday. So you should definitely show up for Reaper Live.
Better known as today.
Yes, better known as today. Right. I don't know what day of the week it is. I had 3 days of total brain fog with no sleep. It's just, and it's been Monday, as far as I'm concerned, all week. So it's still Monday. But Eligo Mars is a resin? Okay. So you can print out stuff to paint straight up, pretty much on that. I'm interested. We don't have a really good spot for a resin printer. But David and I are interested eventually, I think. So I like to ask questions about it. Alrighty, more light. More light. Up on top of these shoulders, because the light would hit here. More light. Not quite light enough. Ballpark on the Reaper airbrush. I don't know if we've got one on the value of it as far as what's going to cost. But Reaper John is a good guy to ask. This is also where we're fighting a bit of natural shadow here from the fireball, which does happen. It's the same kind of problem that you'd have if you were painting like the inside of a dragon's mouth to glow because it's about to breathe fire. But the fact that the mouth is in shadow, naturally shadowed, it means that you're kind of fighting against that natural shadow unless you put an LED in there to light it up. So here we're fighting a little bit against the fireball kind of being an actual solid ball of metal above the snake's head. So we have to highlight. See, with the light coming from the right direction, we can absolutely see that that works. But yeah. Yeah, days of the week are just illusions these days. Yes, exactly. Yeah, 6 p.m. Central Time Zone, I believe, is when it starts. Hello, Tedious Tau. One footprint. Any cubic photon S. We would want something that prints really high quality but has a very good interface. That's why I'm kind of waiting. I assume that as time goes on, a me can be easily taught to use a 3D printer. What's up, Kiri? Horf? Did you inhale some fuzz? Alrighty, so I want to bring that light up brighter, have it fade out as we go farther away, but I don't want it to fade out yet because the shoulders here are picking up some of it, so it has to stay bright at least as far down as the tops of the shoulders. So this is where I'm tuning, doing some of my layering to make the light look as bright as I want it. But you want it to come down consistently, right? As far as the level of brightness, you should be consistent if you want it to be a glow. I'm going to take some of this yellow and block in some of these shadows on the sleeves so they're not as purple. Needs to all read pretty yellow up here. We're getting there. We're getting there. Our light sourcing is coming. Man, I haven't used a sewing machine for decades. In our like over 2 decades. My mom is really good at sewing, but I think she sews an old-fashioned one. I don't know if hers is is updated electric and all that fancy stuff. I mean, like, you know, with a digital interface. An airbrush with Reaper on it. And it's supposed to be a pretty sexy airbrush, MCC War. Yeah, just like, do I need another bunny hole though? I watch all of you talking about your 3D printers or getting 3D printers, and I'm like, this is a very large bunny hole that will suck up my time for who knows how long while I play with it. And then it will print more minis to take up room in our closet where we all have so much stuff. I heard a burble. Is there somebody in the chat with us? Or maybe that was an alert from my Discord. I'm not sure. Could have been either. So now we are pretty much trying to make this all consistent and figure out what level our light's going to drop off here. And how much yellow we want in it at that point. Yeah. Yeah, don't Discord me on stream, guys. I often forget to turn off my alerts. It's not a big deal, but it makes burbles. Then everybody's like, wait, is my Discord chirping at me? No, it's Anne again. Let's see here. Alrighty, so we're getting pretty consistent now. Like, I brought my yellow maybe down a little bit too much there. So I could bring in some of my mustard color here. I need to drop some water into that. I get to the point where everything is just like colored water because at this point I'm trying to blend. And so I want really thin mixes so that when I'm doing anything I can just spot glaze if I need to. I can have too many minis. I live in an apartment in California now, and so you definitely can have enough minis that David and I would no longer have space to live here. I mean, it's scary enough that both of us can fit our miniatures collections in here, and it would not have been possible if I had not liquidated much of mine. Right now we're somewhat controlled by the fact that we have to, like, you know, order online and have somebody else print the thing. I'm still trying to remember. Guys, remind me. I'm trying to remember if the name of that model place. Is it Reliquary? That does the cool 3D models? Girls models? I'm trying to remember. Seeing as how we got on the topic of metal versus plastic the other day, if you heat the metal figurine up a bit, would it help keep the paint from chipping by expanding the pore surface? You know, I don't think so, Vimanaqua, although it definitely affects primer negatively if your primer and your mini are different temperatures. So maybe fractionally, but you're still never going to get a perfect, like, it's never going to chip kind of effect with metal. It's the nature of the beast, unless you do that gloss coat followed by a dull coat trick. And even then, it's like paint is inherently much softer than metal. So when you put any pressure on that soft paint coating up against that very hard metal edge, especially on edges, most of the time you don't have to worry about flat areas, but on any edge, it's going to give. It's just physics. It's just the way that it happens. So, I mean, the best way to do it is still the trick where you put the heavy gloss coat over it, and then you do the dull coat over the top of that to take down the gloss. That's still the best way if you want a pretty indestructible metal tabletop mini. Me, I just paint them, and then I just touch them up if they get chipped to the point where I find them annoying. But, I mean, most of the time I'm just gentle with my minis when I'm gaming, and I don't find that that's really necessary. Yeah, I totally see. Zombie Leftovers, I agree that it's becoming a huge part of our hobby. There's so many good sculptors online doing good sculpts in ZBrush, and just working with Etsy stores to do prints of their stuff. It's fantastic. It really is opening up for indie sculptors to do their stuff and put out the models that they've been dreaming of and get paid for it. I mean, I love it. This is metal, Inara. I decided, because I've been working mostly on bones for this stream, but I have a lot of metal models that I like. Doing a purple glaze over this, guys, to bring it down a little. Really brings it very ruddy orange when I do that. I like it. So yeah, that's coming along, guys. It's coming along. I'm liking this. I really like the warmth of the yellow and how you still get the purple. Like, you still get the hints of the purple, but that you still get that color translated more naturally. So I'm going to actually add some more of my straight up purple just to make sure that I'm not losing it all. And I'm going to touch up some areas that might need a little bit of highlight, but not much. Like there's probably going to be a little bit of light there under the arm. Gotta kind of watch it. Got a little bit of a fold here. You can use a little bit to bring in some details there, just real subtle details. But yeah, so there's some models that I really like in metal, and so I thought I would work on a metal model every once in a while. Yeah, Justin's looking at the Gen Con online streams, trash. It might be, yeah, some slight differences with the cast and everything. Hey, Rings. Yeah, we're working on the light sourcing, and I kind of stopped on the front because there was more purple. I was talking about purple, and there was more purple on the back. So we're working on how you highlight purple with when you've got just a yellow light source. And the answer is it mutes it out very brown, but you can still sneak enough purple in there for it to look purple. And this is, again, if you're going for realism. If you're a more stylistic painter and you want to use like a whole bunch of different colors in your shadows and you still want to do a light source, you know, go for it. But if you're trying to really make it look real, then you've got to pay attention to how the color of the light affects the underlying surface. I like this. All right. I'm going to put more purple down here. My purple's really dark, and it's not actually, if I shove this out, it probably will show better. Yeah, you can see the purple a lot better. I'm still working it into the yellow up here. Because it's in the shadows, it's just not showing up real strong, and that's perfectly fine. Purples. Let's see here. Oh, Bones version has fewer wrinkles in the cloth. Interesting. Yeah, sometimes that's translation. I'm not sure why that would be. Because they should be from the same base sculpt. So let's see. Here I want... This is going to be much darker light source down here. Much more faded. Much more like this. Because the further you get away from the light source, the more dull it is. Not as much light is reaching the surface. And doing a very, very bright light source, you could do more highlights down below. But then everything would be like very bleached out. Like it would almost be a duochrome model at that point, with yellow being so strong everywhere. And I have to bring up my yellow even more on these arms at this point. Up here on the arms, gotta bring it up. Because now that I have all of this really bleached in yellow, I have to pay attention to how far down the arm that color goes. Because, you know, if it goes this far down here, then it's got to go this far out here. Which means I have to take down my green. When I get up close to the light source, I have to lose my green in favor of yellow. Just like I lost most of my purple here, except in the shadows, in favor of yellow. And I'll start with kind of my 50-50 mix of lantern and white, and then I'll take it up. I still want to keep some of these little green bits into shadow, but I definitely want to be translating a lot of light. Wherever it would be hitting really strongly. That's getting a little better on the front. And I need to bring this up. See, now it's very yellow, but I need to grab my 4 drops of white, 1 drop lantern yellow mixture to bring it up even more toward here. Do a little bit of stippling to suggest those scales up there that I'm kind of glossing over a bit. so I don't lose the texture totally. Now it's starting to look better. There's my focus point. Yeah, Dogfather, it's all about, purple robe, but it's all about how a yellow-orange light source is going to impact that purple robe if you go with it, because it's complementary colors. So it's really going to change the way the robe looks. The robe's going to look more brown. It can still have purple, but you were lurking while you were on your spin bike. That's good. I used to do that all the time. I used to watch Overwatch streaming when I was doing my exercycle. It's a good distraction. Anything that engages you and makes the exercise time go faster. Especially when I'm outside walking, I don't need that. But when I'm doing indoor exercises, I find the distraction helps because you're not going anywhere. You're just spinning in place. Cool, Mike. Thank you. Glad you like her. Yeah, I wanted to go with the light source. But yeah, it is a base that, if you can see the purple on the underside there, Dogfather. But what I had to do was take down the purple with a bit of yellow in it, because that's what would naturally happen with this color under a light source like this. So it really would go more brown in yellow-orange light. And I'm still sneaking in probably a little bit more saturated of a shadow than I should to keep the purple, but I don't mind. I'm willing to make that compromise. I think I can sneak it in and not be totally against the grain. All right. Need to do more on this side of the head, because we did not finish up this stuff. Any questions? Yeah, that's why I was doing it, Tedious Tau. I pretty much just got in the habit of exercising. I mean, I do enjoy my outside walks. I did get to the point where I enjoy those, but like the exer bike really wasn't for me, except for its purpose was to burn calories. So anyway, I could distract myself. It was good. But yeah, I did keto a while ago for like 2 years and lost like 60 pounds. Exercising keto, just walking, really, not a little bit of the extra bike when it was bad weather. I did like my treadmill. I would always do audiobooks on the treadmill. I'm kind of sad that the COVID thing has closed down the gym at our apartment complex, because that would be kind of nice to go and just chill on the treadmill every once in a while as a different sort of exercise. You get to paint. All right, Trouble. Good. Oh, you're keto now, Zombie? Awesome. How's it going for you? I really enjoyed the keto diet, obviously, since I made it work for 2 years. I'm thinking about going back on it. I've gained a little weight. I've gained 10 pounds back, and that's over the last year. But I'm not like really thrilled about it. So I was like, well, should I keto for 10 pounds? Because I still eat low carb. I'm still very low carb. Because that's just the way I like eating. And I'm gluten-free because of stuff also. So it's easy for me to be low carb when I'm gluten-free. But yeah, I had a lot of success on keto. More than I've done a lot of diets through the years. Being female, I think it's compulsory that you try 60 zillion diets when you're an overweight female. Probably when you're an overweight guy too, maybe. But definitely I grew up, I was in high school in the 80s, and then it was all about diets and low fat and all this stuff. So keto was a real mind shift for me. But it worked. It was the only one that actually worked. Yep, reverse diabetes. Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. Wow, we're diabetic for 20 years and now you don't have to. Fantastic. That's awesome, Zombie. Yeah, you definitely sacrifice things to do keto. Although you can make, using almond flour, it is possible to make very tasty baked goods on keto. I know, I did it for ages. My keto baking skills are undiminished. I even can make my mom's Christmas cookies, and they taste just like my mom's Christmas cookies with keto flour. So, and no loss of texture. So yeah, essentially I took it as a challenge, a personal affront when people were like, "Oh, well, you can't do this on keto," and I'm like, "I bet you can." So I set out to figure out how to bake it. But now it's such a habit. I just enjoy that way of eating. So I'm still, like I said, I'm still really low carb. I make my own muffins that are keto for breakfast in the mornings, and Saturdays we do eggs and stuff. Yeah, almond flour. Especially the best kept secret, I think, in almond flour. Oh, sorry. No, not a keto. Nope. Oh, yeah, that's hard, Dogfather. Yeah, almond flour. The best kept secret in almond flour is the Mendelmel. It's done by the people who do sucrin. It's a defatted almond flour, and it works if you are really missing the fine texture of regular flour, like especially for like Christmas cookies and stuff. You want that crumbly kind of thing going on and not the really super moist thing. That defatted almond flour that's what lets me make my mom's Christmas cookies keto. It's not cheap, but it's orderable on Amazon, and I just use a mixture of a bunch of different things then. Yeah. Stay as a life. Yeah, it took a while to adapt, that's for sure. Yeah, you definitely do need time to adapt. It was recommended to me. Yeah, that's the trouble, right, Gergie? That's kind of why I went low carb out here, because David is not going to do keto. And so, but we can definitely do low carb. Like, he just eats his sandwich for lunch or whatever, and, has his evil gluten. And I just do my thing, my salad for lunch with guacamole and stuff. But yeah. Picky eater can definitely, you can make tasty keto stuff. The thing is trying to figure out the common ground. So, like, you don't have to cook two separate dinners entirely. Like, figure out how to make your family's favorite recipes. Like, make a keto version, maybe try it, depends. But if they like all sorts of breaded stuff, then you're kind of in trouble. Yeah, or a bunch of pasta. Yeah. Low carb is a lot easier. Yes, it is. Yeah, that's great. That's just great zombie leftovers. Yeah, that's what I really loved about keto. Is the first diet that I didn't have cravings on. I just could ignore crackers, could ignore, all the things that I used to want to eat. Yeah, that's a bummer when you have an almond allergy later in life. You can do a lot of stuff with coconut flour. There are some other flours. Coconut flour is the only really keto one otherwise, but you have to really adjust your liquids since it absorbs liquid so dramatically. All right. Well, burger with no bun is a serious keto option, though, And then when you do Mexican, you just do fajitas without the tortilla. And it's, adaptations like that can really help, because then you're eating the same stuff. You just omit from your dinner the source of carbs, and they still get to eat what they want. And so you're just making burgers for everybody, but you're just not having the bun. So I found that was a pretty good adaptation. That's what I do with David. If we make burgers, I have one without a bun, and I smother it in onions and sauteed mushrooms and guacamole. Ta-da! Keto burger. I don't even miss the bun now. I actually prefer them without it. Yeah, coconut flour can be really a lifesaver on keto if you're allergic to nuts, for sure. Or, allergic to, like, almonds or other nuts than coconut, obviously. I don't use cornstarch. I actually use rice flour, like the sticky rice flour. I find that it's a really good thickener. I could never get used to the goopiness of cornstarch, and I hate that it doesn't reheat very well. Because I used to make big batches of things and live on leftovers for lazy dinners when I was too tired to cook. So, all right, that's probably too high there. See, all right, so now it's not reading right, see? Because I've got this nice bright light, and then I take it dimmer and dimmer and dimmer, and then boop, oh no, too much. Yeah, so that's way too bright. So I can take my mustard color off over it. My mustard color is got a lot more purple in it. And knock that down. I might have to actually take my purple and glaze over the top of it to make it go down nicely. Now, and this is where you can tell that you have a purple that actually does work well with yellow, that is a very red purple. If you can glaze over that yellow and get an orange color like that, that's still pretty saturated and isn't total muck, then you've got the right purple for this job. Alrighty, so that's looking good. How about this side? We won't make that mistake again. Just a little bit of yellow over here, I think. Mostly purple. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, how did it go, Miss Dim? You just played your first Gen Con online slot. Was it fun? Yeah, that is sad, Gurgi. Because you know how good vegetables are for people, and when you're married to somebody or, you know, dating somebody who's really anti-veggie, it can be very hard. Weirdly, I'm almost vegetarian at this point. My low carb is, I only do meat for supper at this point. And I try to alternate fish with fish every other day. Or at the very least, David and I are like, well, we probably shouldn't do red meat 2 days in a row. So that's nice. And I do love seafood. I grew up in a family that really didn't. So it's nice that I can actually have so much seafood to eat now. It's a little more expensive sometimes, but if you pay attention to sales, it's not bad. No, Strange. Glaze over, I mean, I did do a wet over wet glaze at that point, but when you're glazing, it's always a wet over dry, if you're strictly talking about, you know, the strictest meaning of the glaze. Otherwise, you're technically wet blending. When I just did that purple glaze over the top of that yellow glaze back here, most of my yellow glaze was dry, so it ended up being a little bit of a wet blend mixed glaze, but glazing is in the strictest sense of the word, glazing is putting a wet layer that is extremely thin over a dry layer. If you try to go over it when it is very wet, it will just all slop together and become kind of just a wash. Too much. 21 grams. Yeah, if I'm going to stay on keto, zombie, that's what I need to be on. I'm 21, 25. I can't go much higher without just being low carb and not on keto. Not too many hiccups with Roll20? Good. Yeah, well, it's Gen Con, so if they didn't bring in more hardware, I would be shocked. Yeah, some stuff is really good frozen in our... actually, I learned, because I had some allergic reactions to shrimp just like a couple times, and I was like, what's this? I never had this. And it wasn't consistent. So then I looked into it, and they said it was a bacteria. Usually what people react to is a bacteria that grow on the shrimp. But if you buy ones that are like frozen straight out and never unthawed, then you can avoid that. And so I switched to that. Switched to frozen wild-caught shrimp and never had a reaction since, or haven't had a reaction since. So that's nice. So some stuff frozen is okay. And also if you're like doing something like like fish tacos or something, like we use frozen cod, and you know, you thaw it and squeeze the water out of it. It works just fine for those purposes. Yeah, I'm going to make trout tonight. It's my first time doing trout, and I think I'm going to pan fry it. I found a recipe for a Mediterranean type. And you can make it kind of Greek and go tzatziki with it. So, you know, that's a win in my book. I actually have the ingredients for that. So. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's good. Like, if you do 40 to 60 grams of carbs a day, Gergie, that's really... Yeah, it should help you. Like, dropping that many carbs should really help with weight loss and cravings. So I hope it does. If you've got health issues you're trying to overcome, fingers crossed for you. Because that was my fear. That's actually what motivated me to go on the keto in the first place, guys, was fear of diabetes. Which my my aunt on my father's side, my godmother, had and pretty much died of complications from. So it was a big fear point for me. I'm not going quite orange enough on this. But yeah, so that was my motivator for doing keto, for making that huge lifestyle change, because I used to be addicted to carbs. Yeah, we used to fish when I was a kid too, actually. I always kind of enjoyed it. Yeah. Severe allergy to shrimp. That's too bad. Yeah, some brands are better than others. That's true. All right. I'm glad we can all support each other in our, funky diets. Anybody else who's on a funky diet, you get all the support. I'm a big believer in diet to help with health issues. So having had it help with my own, because I was pre-diabetic when I went on. That's why I was so scared. So I do definitely think that people should try diet before they put themselves on too much of a med cocktail, or to try to get off of their med cocktail if they have a doctor who's supportive and thinks that it'll work. It's kind of a wet blend, trying to get that little, just a tiny bit of orange glow now down here toward the bottom. Just a little bit. So now we're getting more of the purple down here, right? So we get more of the yellow up top, but you get to put more of the purple in down below. And I might take some of that extra glow off of there. That might be a little too much. 6 years to get diagnosed. Wow. I love fish tacos. It's my favorite food that we make. It's honestly, like, I started cooking a whole bunch of new stuff for David when I came out here because I decided I wanted to experiment more and push myself and not always be, cooking the same 5 things. Like you tend to get into that, that mode where you're always reaching for the same things. And I don't mind if I have like 12 or 15 different things that I tend to make. That's cool. But I wanted to expand it a little bit. So I had never done fish tacos before, and now I'm addicted to them. Oh, hate that. Yeah, the ringing ears thing, that's hard. Well, good luck with your dietary changes. I know it's hard. It's really, really hard, especially when you're in the habit of eating whatever you want. And especially when food is comfort food, and for me it definitely is. I'm a stress eater, so it was really hard to just be very conscientious about it. I mean, it wasn't that I couldn't, I get grumpy that I had to choose the healthy thing, but I mean, I was able to change my behavior until it was a habit, and then I didn't have to think about it anymore. Is there a guide to look on the color wheel to see what 2 complementary colors blended together should look like? I don't think that the color wheel does that. Does it, David? I don't think. Let's see. Adding black, adding white, adding blue. You can kind of do it for at least the primaries. Because there's an adding red, adding yellow, and adding blue. So if you go to orange and you look at adding blue, it's going to give you a brownish gray. And if you look likewise at purple, adding yellow, and it's going to vary here, but like a reddish purple, as you can see, is going to give us, and it's close, like it's printing, right? So it's not going to be like perfect, but here, let me mix this up and actually dab it on. So I'm mixing my reddish purple with yellow, and it's a little more saturated than that, but it's close, right? It tells you it's close. And the exact purple that you're using would change this. And the exact yellow. They're using, I think, more of a green shade yellow here and not an orange shade yellow like I am. So that's why you get that problem where it looks a little different. But so at least with the primaries, you could look at like green and red. Like you get kind of a gray purple. But that's only if you add a lot of red. If you're adding a lot of green, you're going to get more of a straight gray brown. And it also depends on how much yellow you've got in your green, because then you can get more of an olivey kind of orangey color. So, yeah. the color wheel can at least help you a little bit with that. Let's see here. Where was I? I was doing shoulders. Yeah, the color wheel really is a handy tool. I mean, no, just order, I mean, all sorts of different companies do one. I've got the one that's actually from the Color Wheel company. It's a pocket color wheel. I like the little one. And so I actually did, if you're on my Patreon, go over and look at I did a $5 thing a little while ago, talking about the uses of the color wheel. But yeah, so this one is just printed. It's actually from the Color Wheel company. But I ordered it on Amazon, I think. If you just type in pocket color wheel, you should come up with it. They're very cheap, and they're really useful. I have a couple of them sitting around the house. Yep, and any art supply store. Although, again, if you don't want to go out in this age of COVID, depending on where you are, what stores are open, you know. The Reaper should do their own color wheel. I think you can just brand them. I think I've got one from Vallejo. Or not from Vallejo, from Scale 75. Hey, Bearded Goblin. Local craft store. Yeah, it's just a couple bucks. Alrighty, where am I? Oh yeah, I wanted to lighten up her shoulders a little bit. Oh, wow, it's 11 already. I guess we should probably look for a raid. So it's pretty cool, Justin. Sky Daddy got on my stream yesterday to say hi.
I saw that, actually. I watched for a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. It's cool. We're getting a proper little community of Twitchness going on. Twitchy community. That we're all friends. I like that.
Let's see here. Who do we want to raid today?
I don't know. Who do we want to raid? Do we have any people like 2D artists like Scridello or that we've raided it before? Or I don't know. You've probably got a crap ton of people on your list.
We do have Zambies online.
We have a Zambies, a wild Zambies. Well, that sounds great because she always pops into my stream. So I am A-okay with raiding Zambies. If you all would like to go over and wish her a happy Thursday. Happy day before Friday. But hopefully now, before we go, you guys can see that this is developing, like, actually into being a properly lit snake person. I think the back is reading really quite well. I'm pretty happy with the back right now. So I've got to add a bit more yellow up on the arms. And once I get this bracer, once I figure out what color this bracer is going to be, and whether I'm going to go with gold or whatever on the arms, maybe we'll try to do metallic on the edging and see about it. There's definitely, oh good, Inara, yay. Yeah, and Nagendra, I like them. So, actually, we have a UK shop. We have a UK, not a store up front, but we've got a UK distributor. So if you order anywhere in the UK, it should be really cheap shipping. If you order from the UK, the EU site. Yeah. Well, I don't. Right. I think Kit orders paint, so I think you should be able to get paints. Alrighty, we'll stop talking. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. I'm really happy that you were all here. I hope you're really enjoying Snake Person. I'm actually loving how she's coming out. So, everybody have a great day. I really enjoyed hanging out with you all this morning, and I will see you later, tomorrow morning, if nothing else. I don't know if I'm going to stream today. I got to do PDF stuff, but have fun, and I will talk to you later. Have a great one, guys.
Thank you guys very much for coming out. Keep being awesome. Spread the Reaper love. And we will see you guys for Sadie's show at 3. Although she just texted me, so hopefully that's not a text saying she can't do the show. But I will otherwise see you guys at 3. Thank you very much.